It's official. Andrei and Elizabeth have been permanently banned from every TLC show, spin-off and special. No more screen time, no farewell arc, not even a silent cameo. Just erasure. TLC made the decision behind closed doors and kept it quiet. But insiders are clear. They're done. Banned. Gone. For life. Fans didn't wait for confirmation. Social media lit up like wildfire. Some were celebrating. Others were stunned. And a vocal few wondered, after all the years of chaos TLC has tolerated, why now? What crossed the line? Welcome to Reality Sport. I'm Oliva, and this is where we don't just recap the mess, we dissect it. If you love smart drama, unfiltered commentary, and behind-the-scenes receipts, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, did TLC finally clean house? Or are they hiding their own mess? This isn't your usual cast shakeup. TLC has quietly fired people before. But a silent lifetime ban on two of the most visible stars in franchise history? That's different. That's seismic. See, Andrei and Elizabeth weren't just random names in the 90-day multiverse. They were a subplot-generating machine, a polarizing couple who pushed every limit, family, cultural, marital, and kept coming back season after season. When fans got tired, TLC doubled down, gave them spin-offs, re-edits, overseas weddings, bonus content. TLC didn't just tolerate the chaos, they monetized it. So when even they said no more, it wasn't over one scene, or one fight, or one fan petition. It was the wreckage of years piling up behind the scenes. And if you're thinking this is about reality TV being messy, think bigger. This isn't drama. It's damage control. Because while the viewers were hate watching Andrei's power struggles and Elizabeth's blind loyalty on screen, something else was happening behind the cameras. Producers were documenting meltdowns they couldn't air. Crew members were asking to be reassigned. Legal was getting involved. We're talking cost overruns, broken equipment, shutdown shoots, on-set walkouts. And TLC? They kept receipts. Quietly. Relentlessly. They thought drama kept them protected. What they didn't realize? TLC was quietly building a case. Now here's where it gets even more wild. Andrei and Elizabeth didn't see it coming. Not really. To them, fans being furious was part of the game. The louder the backlash, the safer their contract. Because in their heads, controversy equals relevance. And TLC needs relevance, right? What they didn't calculate was fatigue. Audience fatigue. Crew fatigue. Executive fatigue. Because even in a franchise that runs on dysfunction, there's a point where people stop watching and start boycotting. One more explosive dinner fight wasn't going to raise ratings. It was going to break the brand. But if TLC pulled the trigger now, that means something tipped the balance recently. The final straw. The non-negotiable. And no, it wasn't Elizabeth's social media slip-ups. Or Andrei's refusal to play along with the storyline. Not even the green card scandal was enough on its own. So what was it? Something happened. Off camera. On set. Pressured. Documented. And when that file hit the conference table at TLC headquarters, they didn't argue. They didn't delay. They closed the file, closed the door, and cut the cord. And still, Andrei claims the network betrayed him. Elizabeth is reportedly devastated. And TLC? Silent. Dead quiet. Like they've got even more to cover up. Why no formal statement? Why now? Why them? That's where it gets even uglier. This ban isn't the end of the story. Not even close. It started like every other 90-day setup. An American girl meets a foreign guy online. They fall in love, get engaged, and race against the K-1 visa clock. But when Elizabeth introduced Andrei to the world, something shifted. Fans didn't see awkward charm or new couple jitters. They saw friction. Right away. He came in hot. Moldovan accent, sharp tone, zero filter. She followed his lead with wide eyes, brushing off red flags like they were cute quirks. But it wasn't just about them. It never was. Andrei didn't come for just Elizabeth. He married into the whole Potthast clan, and they came ready for war. The moment her family showed up, everything exploded. Mic'd up, passive-aggressive, loud, suspicious. From the first group dinner, viewers could tell this wasn't the usual cultural misunderstanding storyline. This was power struggle in real time, family loyalty tested on air, and no one backing down. The infamous barbecue? Instantly viral, drunken yelling, microaggressions. Andrei puffing his chest, barking orders. Elizabeth caught in the middle, trying and failing to calm anyone down. No one was acting for the cameras, they were combusting. And America tuned in. TLC leaned in faster than Andrei could yell, "I'm the man." Instead of doing damage control, they stuffed more relatives into every scene. Suddenly, producers weren't just documenting a relationship, they were curating a family implosion. By season 2, the show stopped being about a marriage. It became the Potthast Civil War. Chuck, the doddering dad. Charlie, the self-proclaimed alpha. Becky, Jen, even Megan. Turned the camera and someone was fuming. And in the middle? Andrei, growing louder. Elizabeth, growing quieter. Their couple dynamic started unraveling right there. But TLC didn't blink. They saw gold. The Moldova wedding arc? Visual chaos. Culture asserts dominance. Andrei's family comes in stoic. Elizabeth's crew lands like a drunken bachelorette party. Cue incoherent toasts, international beef, and a brother-in-law yelling, "Don't come to America and take our money," across a luxury tablecloth. Classy. More seasons followed, each one messier than the last. TLC new viewers were hate-watching, rage-commenting, binge-clicking. Andrei's "I'm the head of the household" speeches were clipped and shared, dissected and mocked. Elizabeth's "I trust my husband" loyalty became meme fuel. Nothing about this couple said growth. Everything screamed meltdown. And yet, TLC kept feeding it. They booked them on every spinoff that would take them. Guests on Happily Ever After, features on 90 Day Diaries, even slots on Pillow Talk reruns just to keep them visible. Editors leaned in harder. Close-ups of silent glares. Slow fades on family fights. They crafted a careful tone. Look at this messy love story fall apart. Isn't it addictive? At first, fans were hooked. This wasn't your average long-distance couple squabbling about chores. This was power, ego, entitlement, and performative family loyalty, all clashing on screen every week. Love them, hate them, didn't matter. You knew they were coming back. Until suddenly, the reactions changed. Comment sections echoed with fatigue. No one found the screaming matches entertaining anymore. The novelty had curdled. People stopped asking, will they work it out? And started asking, why is this still airing? And, quietly, behind the scenes, so did some of the producers. They weren't just clashing on camera. Insiders say the real battles started when the crew packed up. By then, the couple had tasted reality fame. They knew how to stir it. They also knew the power of refusing. Sources say Andrei started pushing back on storylines, resisting prompts, even criticizing producers on set. Elizabeth defended him, whether or not she agreed. Their worldview had shifted. TLC wasn't giving them a platform. TLC owed it to them. Fans might assume the show shows everything. The truth? For Andrei and Elizabeth, the worst stuff never aired. Physical altercations edited out. Broken mics, trash scenes, pulling family members out of shoots last minute, rewrites on the fly. According to insiders, it became a pattern. Loud on screen, louder off. So, at what point do you stop calling it drama and start calling it destruction, when the producers are spending more time putting out fires than filming them? And yet, TLC still held the door open, until one final blow changed the entire equation. On screen, it looked like chaos. But off screen, it was far worse. Andrei wasn't just intense for the cameras. According to multiple crew sources, he reportedly became one of the most difficult cast members to work with in franchise history. What started as control issues during confessionals escalated quickly into full-blown confrontations with production. He'd show up late to set. He'd change locations last minute without notice. He refused to wear mics unless they let him preview questions in advance. And if you think that was bad, insiders claim he'd frequently force entire reshoots to be scrapped because of bad light, minor arguments, or just being in a bad mood. Entire crew schedules thrown, whole days lost. And when producers pushed back, Andrei would allegedly shut down completely, stonewall the direction, walk off mid-take, or, according to one former assistant director, disappear into his car and refuse to come out. His condition? Rewrite the segment or cut the scene altogether. A season of storyboarding, planning, logistics derailed because the head of the household didn't like the edit. The worst moment came in Florida, during filming for Happily Ever After. Producers needed a simple reshoot, just one clarifying scene in the backyard where he and Elizabeth discussed his green card issues. But Andrei felt ambushed. He'd already accused the production team of making him look weak. Now he was convinced they were setting him up. When a producer approached with cue notes, Andrei allegedly exploded, shouting, cursing, crew within earshot. The verbal spat escalated to the point where, sources say, he shoved a camera out of his face. Not a small bump, not a light slap. The equipment dropped. A lens cracked. The operator froze. No one said a word. Until production shut down for the day. Now here's where things get messier. This wasn't a one-off tantrum. By that point, TLC had already collected multiple incident reports. They knew about the threatening behavior, the refusals, the social media violations. But this was different. This wasn't improv. This was a safety issue. And somehow, Elizabeth still backed him. Not angrily, not defensively, calmly, consistently, with a smile that said, "Don't blame him. We're under pressure." She stopped filming more than once when Andrei got mad, reportedly walking away from scenes unless the crew reset the tone. She wouldn't appear in family segments unless Andrei approved the angle. Producers offered flexibility, alternate timelines, scaled-back storylines, but it almost never helped. Because, no matter how they adapted, the pair demanded full control. So now, you're not making a show. You're negotiating hostages. By this point, TLC wasn't filming a docuseries. They were trying to survive a hostage situation. And that toxic atmosphere didn't stay contained to one crew. Word spread fast. Camera ops didn't want to be scheduled for Andrei scenes. Audio specialists started refusing assignments. Even logistics coordinators flagged repeated incidents of non-collaborative talent in their daily reports. Multiple production team members say TLC's hands were tied. If they pulled Andrei too early, they'd lose footage and money. If they gave in to every demand, they'd lose morale and more staff. So they started logging. Every broken protocol, every risky outburst, every do not air segment that had to be buried in post. The breaking point wasn't just one day. It was death by 1,000 shutdowns. And it couldn't stay hidden forever. Because somewhere in a boardroom, miles from set, network execs were handed a file. And when they thumbed through that file, incident after incident, delay after delay, it wasn't a question of if they'd cut ties. It became a question of what took them so long. For years, Andrei and Elizabeth dominated screen time. TLC positioned them as one of the franchise's anchor couples. And no matter how bad the backlash got, the airtime kept flowing in. More spin-offs, more family drama, more manufactured suspense. But something quietly shifted as another season of Happily Ever After rolled out. The noise around them didn't spark curiosity anymore. It sparked revolt. Reddit threads stopped obsessing over the latest fight and started coordinating boycotts. Twitter, usually a fountain of memes and live reactions, turned bitter. Suddenly, the top trend wasn't a fight recap or screen grab. It was #BanAndrei. Then came #RemoveElizabeth. Then No more Potthast. Different platforms. Same message. Viewer fatigue had finally boiled over. On Facebook, fan groups once filled with playful arguments over who was worse became echo chambers of pure exhaustion. Viewers were angry that the show kept recycling the same toxic bickering, the same tired storyline of Andrei versus Elizabeth's family. The worst part? Every time fans complained, TLC added more footage, like they were daring the audience to look away. But people did start looking away. Episodes featuring Andrei and Elizabeth began triggering drops in live viewership. Watch parties thinned out. YouTube recaps saw comment sections full of fans vowing not to watch future episodes if the couple returned. Some claimed TLC was rewarding bad behavior. Others insisted they're not even interesting anymore. They're just exhausting. And it wasn't just passive anger. Petitions popped up demanding their removal. One Change.org petition amassed tens of thousands of signatures in a matter of weeks. It was circulating on discussion threads, fan pages, and even being forwarded to production contacts. The title? Stop Enabling Toxicity on 90 Day Fiancé. The fans were fed up. But TLC didn't act until things got dangerous even behind the lens. Inside the walls of the network, there was tension. TLC had always played a delicate game with its biggest personalities. The worst behavior often brought the best rating. And let's be honest, outrage was profitable. Networks don't just want viewers, they want reactions. Anger, love, disgust, sympathy, all of it drives engagement. Andrei and Elizabeth brought outrage on tap. Andrei's dominance, Elizabeth's silence, her family's dysfunction. It was a circus people couldn't stop watching. But as the seasons dragged on, the spectacle lost flavor. The Crazy Uncle act was now a weekly reminder that TLC was turning dysfunction into strategy. And people got wise. Advertisers started asking questions. Some of the brands frequently seen during commercial breaks started submitting quiet complaints. They didn't want to be positioned next to content fans were calling manipulative, toxic, and grossly irresponsible. TLC found itself cornered. Let the couple go and risk disrupting the familiar drama machine? Or keep airing them and risk becoming part of the backlash story yourself? At one point, the network tried to salvage the narrative. TLC quietly minimized Elizabeth's family in trailers. They trimmed down promo clips showing Andrei's most aggressive arguments. Instead, they leaned into neutral footage, baby milestones, minor house projects, lightweight scenes that felt safe. The damage had already been done. Even as TLC tried to reframe them, fans weren't buying it. Comments like, "Stop trying to make us like them," became top likes on every official clip. Even mild scenes featuring the couple were ratioed, attracting more downvotes than any positive engagement. For every scene aired, there were reportedly dozens the producers didn't use. Footage that was too chaotic, too extreme, even too dangerous to risk legal issues or PR blowback. And the audience was catching on. People began asking, if this is what they're showing us, how bad must the unaired footage be? TLC's silence made things worse. The network didn't defend the couple. But they didn't disown them either. No comment, no press release. And in that vacuum, speculation exploded. Some fans claimed Andrei had blackmail-level leverage on producers. Others believed Elizabeth's entire family had contract clauses giving them immunity. The more TLC refused to respond, the more fans assumed something shady was being protected. But insiders knew the real reason for the stall. Behind closed doors, producers were documenting everything. Every note, every misstep. Every time a camera went down because of Andrei's resistance, or a scene had to be rewritten around Elizabeth's refusal to participate. All of it was turning into a record, a file thick enough to justify ending the relationship and survive the fallout. Still, none of it was public. And the couple? Oblivious. They posted vacation photos, shared cutesy parenting reels, created Instagram highlights painting their lives as aspirational. as if TLC was the problem and not them. And the fans? Tore them apart in the comments. The edits were called fake. The captions were called hypocritical. Fans didn't want an apology. They wanted absence. And yet, TLC didn't act. Not publicly. Not fully. Because the actual break didn't happen with a post. Or a petition. Or a slump in ratings. It happened in a moment so explosive, so risky for the brand, that even TLC's highest brass couldn't ignore the alarm bells. One behind-the-scenes meltdown. Unplanned, unscripted, and potentially legal. That was the game changer. And when the footage wasn't salvageable, that's when the network called an emergency meeting no one outside was supposed to know about. No spin. No narrative. Just a collective decision that the show was officially over for two of the most unruly stars they'd ever platformed. It wasn't a fight at a wedding, a screaming match at Sunday dinner, or a viral hashtag that finally broke the dam. It was a storyline TLC thought would be business as usual, an immigration arc, something familiar to fans. But Andrei didn't see it as another plot point. He saw it as betrayal. At the start, the green card storyline looked harmless. Andrei's permanent residency was supposedly in jeopardy, and TLC planned to document the stress, the interviews, and the looming question. Would he be forced to leave the country? Tension, stakes, immigration paperwork, it fit the formula. But behind the scenes, Andrei reportedly exploded, accusing the network of faking the narrative entirely. He said it was humiliating, that producers manipulated the situation to paint him as a fraud. What was meant to be a tense but watchable storyline quickly turned into a battlefield. And this time, there was no script to save it. Crew members present say it began with a meeting. Production tried to calm him down, explain the stakes, remind him that it was based on real legal concerns he'd discussed with them. But Andrei wasn't having it. He called the segment propaganda and, according to leaked accounts from someone on set, accused one producer of destroying his reputation on purpose. Elizabeth tried to mediate, but sources say her exhaustion was visible. This wasn't just another family scene she could step away from. This was the show turning in on itself. She stood by Andrei, again, but this time with less conviction and more resignation. Then came the walkout. Andrei reportedly refused to film any further scenes related to immigration. He didn't just shut down mid-shoot. He allegedly walked off set entirely, signaling to the camera crew to stop following him. When one cameraman kept rolling, per contract instructions, Andrei, according to multiple crew sources, got in his face and warned him to stop before something breaks. That was enough. Security was called. Shooting halted. And Elizabeth, unsure whether to follow or finish her part, ended up leaving too. They always assumed TLC needed them. In one meeting, the network proved otherwise. That wasn't the first broken shoot, but it was the one that finally ended the benefit of the doubt. TLC had protected them through other walkouts, edited out multiple threats, blurred moments where legal lines were arguably crossed. But after this incident, silence wasn't a shield. Producers took the file upstairs. A compiled archive of everything. Emails, set reports, crew complaints, missed hours, broken contracts, and lost days of footage. They dug up unreleased confessionals. Videotapes of scenes that never aired. Andrei shouting. Elizabeth crying. Technical crew pulling back equipment mid-take. They compiled every ignored directive, every demand that disrupted schedules, every refusal to wrap up a plot that had already cost TLC resources. The list wasn't dramatic. It was meticulous, cold, legal. Executives sat down and looked at the data, and for the first time in years, they didn't ask, how do we shape this? They asked, why are we still doing this? Inside sources say the meeting was short. Some at the table were allegedly surprised it hadn't happened sooner. The crew wasn't even briefed when the verdict came down. There was no cast announcement, no public burn, no press release to soften the exit with PR-filtered language. One day, Andrei and Elizabeth's names were on a postboard for upcoming filming schedules. The next day, gone. No calls, no farewells, not even quiet thanks. The order came down, no more contracts. Every future appearance canceled. Archived footage, reviewed one last time. And just like that, two of the most consistent faces in the 90 Day Fiancé universe were erased from the board, locked out of their highest-paying platform. Andrei reportedly hit the roof. Word spread fast through the cast community that he felt blindsided. He told people he had been set up, framed, used. He insisted that TLC got exactly what it wanted in ratings, and then punished him for delivering. Some say he threatened legal action. Others say he knew the battle was over before it started. Elizabeth took it differently, quietly. She reportedly made a private plea to producers, asking for one more sit-down, one more chance to explain. She claimed their behavior had been misunderstood, that they were committed to the show, that the drama had always been real, they just didn't know it would cost them everything. But TLC didn't respond. Not once. Silence was the answer. Absolute surgical silence, which raises the bigger question. How does a couple who built their life around camera time survive when the cameras never return? Because being banned wasn't just a punishment. It was a closed door they couldn't pry open again. And the effects rippled out far past the viewfinder. Their silence didn't last either. Because when you've survived through drama, attention becomes oxygen. And soon, they were back online. But this time, it wasn't on TLC's dime. It was personal and messy. What came after the ban wasn't a graceful exit. It was a slow-motion unraveling. Andrei, furious. Elizabeth, stunned. Neither of them seemed to know what just hit them. One day, they were building another arc. The next, everything stopped. And everyone except them knew why. Andrei allegedly saw the decision as personal. He told mutuals in the cast that TLC had used him for ratings and tossed him aside. He called the ban a setup. He allegedly went on about how producers twisted the storyline to assassinate his character, made him the villain, and then acted shocked when he pushed back. According to people close to the production team, he even warned he'd expose everything. The truth, they don't want you to see. Elizabeth's reaction hit different. Less fire, more desperation. She didn't run to social media right away. She reportedly reached out to some of the same producers privately, trying to salvage the relationship. Apologized for the behind-the-scenes tension, asked for just one conversation. But there were no callbacks, no meetings. Her emails, allegedly, were ignored. For a couple who had built their entire adult lives around being reality TV famous, the silence cut deeper than a public call-out. Because a firestorm would have been easier. At least that would have meant attention. But this was removal. Erasure. And then came the collapse of the extended cast ladder. The Potthast family had always ridden the wave of Andrei and Elizabeth's main storyline. Siblings showed up regularly. Chuck evolved into his own awkward side character. Even the in-laws had screen time. But when TLC pulled the plug, the whole chain broke. No couple, no leverage. No leverage, no contracts. Chuck reportedly told someone off camera that the whole thing ran its course. But it didn't sound like peace, it sounded like resignation. Charlie, who'd long been framed as the wildcard antagonist, allegedly told friends he was relieved. "Now they know what I've been trying to say," he reportedly remarked. Half complaint, half gloat. None of them got a formal notice either. TLC didn't issue family-level bans, but without a headliner to center their scenes, they vanished from call sheets. No segments. No weekend shoots. No mic'd-up meals ending in slammed doors. And that's when things online started to shift. Elizabeth's feed pivoted almost overnight. From TLC promos to sponsored skincare. From scene teasers to family selfies layered with vague captions like "clarity is everything." Then came the rebrand, lifestyle content, pastel edits, parenting hacks, dance reels. Behind smiles anxiety when the likes didn't match expectations. Andrei's Instagram followed suit. First came the shirtless workouts. Then came the rants. Posts about manipulation. About fake people. About learning who really has your back. He unfollowed cast members. Then tagged random podcast accounts. Then wiped his feed clean. They weren't influencers. They were castaways trying to map their return. And that's when whispers about a podcast started. Friends say Andrei was pitching it as uncensored, unfiltered, finally our side. He reportedly recorded a pilot episode, hinting he would reveal secrets production didn't want out. Reality TV manipulation. Off-camera truth bombs. Edited fights. Scripted chaos disguised as real moments. Only problem? There's a canyon between exposure and relevance, and Andrei never looked more isolated. The industry noticed. Other cast members heard what happened and took note. Production assistants talked. TLC quietly shifted its policy on handling volatile personalities. Some contracts were tightened. On-set reporting strengthened. They weren't going to let another Andrei situation sneak up again. Because what happened wasn't random. The ban was never about one fight, one outburst, one hurt feeling. It was about years of lines crossed, warnings ignored, bridges burned one shoot at a time. Andrei had charisma. Elizabeth had loyalty. Together, they had fire. But instead of respecting the platform that made them household names, they allegedly treated it like a hostage situation they could out-negotiate. Viewers watched the marriage. TLC watched the liability. Producers built a case while they were still filming. The fans built a movement while they were still airing. And when that final scene snapped into place, the silence said what the press never did: this story is over. Or was it? Because Andrei isn't done. Far from it. He says there's a version of reality you didn't see. Scenes cut. Context blurred. Conversations rewired. He's hinting that everything you thought you knew was pushed, staged, or manufactured. And in his new podcast trailer, he names names. Andrei vowed to expose TLC with his own podcast, but what he claimed in the trailer shocked even longtime fans. That reaction? Next video's got the scoop.